Hi, this is Mark Trudeau, CEO of OpenVault. Hope everyone is staying safe and remaining healthy. About 2 weeks ago, we provided an analysis of the impacts of the COVID-19 crisis on broadband subscriber usage. And this presentation will be an update to that analysis. And we will be focused on growth and how, in fact, what we're seeing is 1 year's worth of growth has occurred here in the past month. And we'll specifically focus on business hour usage and peak hour usage as well. The good news is it seems to be reaching a plateau. As we all know, numerous mitigation efforts were put in place during the month of March, from work from home to schooling from home, etc. And as we went through the month of March, we certainly saw the impacts of that on broadband usage, and usage was increasing really every single week. We are now seeing that usage growth has plateaued, and we'll talk about that in a little more detail. However, when it comes to upstream, this is an area that operators really need to continue to be focused on and analyzing, because we are continuing to see growth on the upstream side. And it is at a slower rate than what we saw during the month of March, but it is still growing. And we'll take a deeper dive into that as well. And then lastly, we'll look at average usage, more specifically, what we saw each year for the last number of years, where we ended up for the month of March, and what we expect average usage per household to be in the month of April. So looking specifically at the weekday business hour usage, in our last update, we showed that it had grown about 55% since the beginning of March. That number has now settled into about 45% growth during the 9 to 5 hours, and about 20% growth versus the beginning of March during peak hours. Now, as you could see, if you look in more detail at the chart, the week of March 23rd actually showed the highest usage per hour in our history, really, that we've seen. And that usage seems to have settled down now the last couple of weeks, again, during that 9 to 5 hour at about 45%. And during peak hours, we're now seeing very consistent usage at about 20% higher than what we saw at the beginning of March. Now, when we look at upstream, it tells a little bit of a different story. In our last update, we showed that growth had increased, usage had increased by about 75% versus the beginning of March. That number has now grown to 85%, and peak usage has actually grown 37%. So you could see, if you look again in more detail at the lines on the chart, that the week here of April 6th, so far this week, we are actually seeing the highest level of upstream usage that we've ever seen. But you can also see it's not necessarily really growing at the same rate that we saw certainly the week of March 16th and the 23rd. So the rate of growth is slowing, but it is something to continue to keep an eye on. And the other thing to point out, and I think we pointed this out on the last analysis, is that there's a flattening of the curve here from about 1 p.m. in the afternoon all the way through the end of the day. We're seeing some pretty high upstream usage. That's our new peak time. We no longer have a really specific defined peak period of 7, 8, 9 p.m. It seems to be starting earlier in the day for upstream usage, and then it takes us all the way through the end of the day. Now, when we look at average household gigabytes going back in time, and we did this during the last analysis as well, but now we have a full month of March to look at, and you could see at 402 gigabytes in the month of March, it really appears as if we saw a whole year's worth of usage growth in that 1 month. And now what we're seeing is, based on the latest usage in gigabytes per day of the last week or two, we can pretty accurately forecast that we're going to see our highest usage on record per household during the month of April. And we expect that to come in somewhere in the 460 gigabytes per household range. So very, very high usage, and that's going to put us over 35% growth even since the end of 2019. So where are we getting all this data? Just a little bit of background so you know that we're actually collecting this data directly from our operator customers' networks. We've been in this space since 2010 when we founded the company, 100% focused on broadband. We're based just outside of New York City in Hoboken, New Jersey, and bring a ton of deep cable and analytics experience to the company. And again, our data is not survey-based. It's real data from real subscribers collected directly from operator networks, really designed to help them understand the usage volumes and the usage behavior of their subscribers so that they can then deploy what we'd call actionable solutions. And those actionable solutions that we help them with and that we provide to them are really in a couple of areas. One is network management, helping them understand the network health and how subscriber usage impacts that network health, where their capacity needs are, where they're going to expand capacity and need to expand capacity, et cetera. And the other area that we help them with is helping them monetize the growth on the broadband networks. So all of our solutions are cloud-based. And again, it's important to point out that this is real data from real subscribers. We collect data from millions of subscribers across hundreds of operators globally. And that's the source of our data. So if you have any additional inquiries about our solution suite and or you'd like access to more granular data, please feel free to reach out to us at sales@openvault.com. Thank you.